For more, Interim Executive Director for the Council of Korean Americans, Jessica Lee, is in Washington. So, Jessica, is there any indication as to why North Korea decided to release these men now?
Well, I think that Kim Jongun sees a real opportunity here before the summit, which we now understand to be in Singapore in the upcoming weeks, to improve and soften his image vis-a-vis the American public. And I think that this is a strategic move on Kim Jong-un's part to demonstrate goodwill because, the United States and President Trump is going to be coming in with what I expect to be a very long list of demands. And so Kim Jong-un is predictably wanting to set a positive atmosphere best he can before that difficult negotiation.
Well, do we know why the men were detained or what conditions they faced while in custody?
Well, we are learning, from the news more and more about the three Korean Americans who were detained between 2015 and 2017. One of whom lived in Virginia, which is where I live. And so it's unclear, what the real reasons were behind their arrest. But what is clear is that after they were arrested, they were imprisoned in very harsh labor camps. And so this is, one of the many challenging things and aspects of learning and talking about North Korea, the fact that, really this is a totalitarian state where basic human rights are not upheld. And so, this creates very stark realities for folks who, for whatever reason, gets on the wrong side of the government.
Well, North Korea has long used Western prisoners as bargaining chips in negotiations. Do you think that's what happened in this case?
It's possible, and it's hard, I think, for analysts and outside experts to understand the true motives behind what Kim Jong-un does or doesn't do. But you're absolutely right that in the past, Western detainees were used as bargaining chips, and so this would flow from that pattern of behavior.
Well, at the White House press briefing, Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders said the release of these hostages is a sign the administration's maximum pressure campaign has worked. North Korea has denied that that's the case. What do you think?
Well, I think both sides are trying to, make itself be the victor in this situation, and it's completely understandable and rational. I do think that at the end of the day, the truth is somewhere in between. Just like, in the past 20 years, the United States and North Korea have negotiated and sought to, cement deals that later fell apart, and each side blamed the other for that failure. So this is, I think, sort of typical behavior, unfortunately, between the two governments. I think what is really going to change the calculus this time around is a willingness for both sides to say, look, we need to build some trust. The status quo is not working. This is a dysfunctional relationship. Let's start fresh and let's build trust over a long period of time rather than rushing to get through a laundry list of items that, practically speaking, will take years to implement.
Well, all of this comes ahead of President Trump's landmark meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jongun. The president says the location and date will be unveiled within days. What would a successful meeting between the two leaders look like for you?
I think, for the Korean American community, which is the group, that I, work most closely with, as well as a coalition of organizations that are advocating for, diplomacy with North Korea, it's very clear that this summit between President Trump and Kim Jong-un is a really important opportunity to stop the brinksmanship and really talk concretely about building peace. I do think that in terms of what success looks like, it's going to be a series of objectives that get progressively more and more difficult. So humanitarian issues are, what some would describe to be low-hanging fruits because they're relatively easy to tackle. such as the release of the 3 Korean Americans and perhaps family reunions for Korean Americans who have family members in North Korea, as well as 5,000 POW MIAs that remain in North Korea since the Korean War. So those are, what experts and observers call, low-hanging fruits. And so we start there, and then we have to build in time for negotiations, which will be very technical, with respect to North Korea's nuclear capability, which is really where the United States has focused a lot of its attention.
Right. Well, a lot of anticipation about this upcoming summit. Jessica Lee, thanks very much for your perspective. I appreciate it.